Brilliant. Well, welcome to the next podcast. This will be number 4. And I've got Sam with me, and it's the habits for health and success. I always have to keep remembering which one I've got, because I've got 2 groups, you see. And one rolls off my tongue, and this one I'm just getting used to. So Sam, do you want, and you've got Dominic on your screen there, but it's not Dominic, it's Sam.
It is. It's because I'm so glued together with my husband that we share the same Google account.
Oh,
I always forget that until I actually sometimes when you're logged in, whenever you use any of the Google software, people say, is it Dominic or is it Sam? But yeah, it's just because I can't, I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to open my own Google account, so I've just always shared his.
yeah. Don't worry. Sam, introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about you.
So my name's Sam Milner, and along with my husband Dom, we run recipethis.com, and we teach people how to cook with kitchen gadgets. We started the blog almost 10 years ago, and we've helped millions of people around the world learn how to use air fryers, instant pots, slow cookers, soup makers, and the list kind of goes on and on. My husband was originally a chef, so it makes a brilliant way for me to be quicker in the kitchen, because when we're planning recipes, then he can do the prep for me. And then I was always more into internet marketing and helping other businesses grow. So we focused on our own instead. And then after 13 years of running businesses in the Algarve, we moved back to England because we knew we could grow our business more living back in the UK. And thanks to that, we were able to become Sunday Times best-selling cookbook authors, and we've sold more than 200,000 cookbooks worldwide so far.
Wow. So do you want to tell us about your cookbooks before? Let's get the cookbook in. You haven't got a copy with you, have you?
Yes, I have actually got in the office with me.
It's always good to have a visual, isn't it? I always have to.
Yeah.
Your cookbook's on air fryers, isn't it?
Yes, so we've got the first one was the complete air fry cookbook. That came out September 2023. And then we followed this along with Air Fry Easy Every Day, and that came out a year later. And we've also got our Air Fry Time and Temp chart, which actually teaches people all the major cooking times and temperatures for all the favourite food to cook in the air fryer. So if you've already got recipes in mind and you just want to know how long to cook your chicken nuggets or your sausages or whatever in the air fryer, then that's there for you. It's currently in the top 100 of all books on Amazon. So it's doing well. It's gone out of stock twice now. So I'm always worried that we haven't got enough printed to keep up with the demand.
It sounds like the perfect student book to me as well, that like you can imagine just sending off your kids with like, right, that's how you cook, and that's some good ideas. And because I think I've read a lot of student accommodation have got, as well as I've got an air fryer, but I've heard there's a lot of student accommodation where they've got lined up different air fryers and they've all brought one and then to cook in. So tell me, how did you get into all of this? So you said you've been doing it for 10 years with the, you started off sort of giving tips and hints and stuff like that. Is that how it grew, or what happened?
Well, we'd had blogs in other niches before, and, we never really settled down. It was like we were thinking, oh, we could make some money out of this, we can make some money out of that. And we had so many different little websites that was earning us money. And I mean, some of them you admit to owning and others you wouldn't. I mean, I think the worst one we had, which really, really embarrassing now because it makes me look so bad, was actually a funeral poem site. So it listed all the major poems so that when someone's died and you're looking and you're trying to find the words for that particular poem, the one I think it's really bad making money off this. For example, I think we had the golf tips one at one point, and I don't think we'd ever played golf. But that's what the internet marketing world was like at that particular time. And I think we had an Xbox one as well, and that did really well. And started a new one, and it was just reviews for different kitchen gadgets. And we already had air fryers at this point. This was going back to 2014, early 2015. And we're realizing just how much people are in love with the air fryer, and how I could put anything on the website for the air fryer. Google would pick it up straight away, and it would bring us a lot of traffic. So it was at that point that we realized that we needed to get rid of all the other stuff that we had going on and just focus on that. So we sold everything else, and we started Recipe This in the November of 2015. So we'd had air fry sites before that, but this was kind of going to be different gadgets. And we thought, right, these gadgets are expensive when you start. So we made deals to feature certain brands' products on there. So we ended up with free bread maker, free ice cream maker, and such like. And then we just kind of got going with it, and it just took off from the first day.
Wow, brilliant. And before that, you said your husband was a chef. Had you done anything completely different to that? He was in the Algarve, you mentioned. Was that?
Yeah. So I wouldn't call myself a business coach, but I would advise people on the businesses, and I would manage websites for people, and I did freelance writing as well. But I actually started off online about, I think it was 20 years ago this week, I think it was. And that was just computer at home. Oh, let's see what I can sell on eBay. I think that's where I actually started off. And then I'm kind of a believer of faith in business, how one thing leads to another, and you find things that are going successful for you and on the right time.
Oh, you've lost. Oh, we just got a bit of sound then. Do you want to say that again?
So I
you
was
on
eBay, and I started off on eBay because, like everybody else in early 2005, everybody was selling anything on eBay. And then that just kind of led on to other things. And then I had my own websites, and, you just play about to see what actually works for yourself. And I just believe in fate, and I've just followed what works, or what I've got a gut instinct in is going to work.
Oh, brilliant. So what habits would you say you picked along that you sort of things that you think helped you to, get to where you are?
I was very fortunate to grow up with self-employed parents, and my dad was the first person to bring a video rental to the north of England. And we briefly lived in London. I was born in London, and he just saw the potential of it down there. And I was always with my dad in his shops behind the counter. I could always see from a young age what was working and what I would always be watching. I know I sound like a stalker there, don't I?
No, the observer. I'm the observer.
I watch, yes. I'm terrible for watching. And I would say I've always got attached to me on my phone, on my tablet, and on my laptop, I've got Google Docs. And I write everything down. Whenever I have an idea, I kind of write it down. And that's probably my biggest habit. It's like I'm always thinking about not what recipes I want to do next in cookbooks. So I was out for lunch with the husband today and my parents, and I was saying, right, we're going to try that. I bet that will work. And I'm there taking photos of the food and then writing notes down on a Google Docs at the same time whilst we're out at dinner.
Oh.
But I can't help it. It's a bad habit. I would consider that a bad habit, but at the same time, it leads on to good things.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good sort of giving people inspiration into it, sort of just being observant. I'm quite observant. I think I also listen to what the conversations people are having, like what's going on, what people talking about, what they're doing. And it's a bit like what you're saying is you just observe what's going on, what trends are coming through, and then observe what people's problems are as well, like because you're solving problems, by your recipes and things.
Yeah, you are. And it's like I've got a very big air fryer audience, and they're made up by the majority of beginners to the air fryer. So it's that, like anything in life, it's that fear of the unknown, of something that you haven't done before. And they're very nervous people, but been using an air fryer for 12 years. So I'm always nervous that I'm not giving them enough beginner help, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm always observant of what they're doing. I hang out in Facebook groups to see what the beginner questions are. The other night I talked a lady through on Facebook Messenger. I was half asleep because, you know, time difference with America and everything, as she boiled eggs in the air fryer for the first time. So, you know, and what was wonderful is they turned out perfect for her. So she had that first win. So now she's going to use it again. That was the first thing she cooked in it. So, you know, it was nice for her to have that first win. And I think we all need to do that, you know, no matter what business we're in, we give that person a first win and they'll come back.
Yeah, in some other way, isn't it? And even be your best champion and, you know, be proactive. That's brilliant. So what other tips would you give as habits that you've instilled to be able to run the business and family life and everything else that throws in the mix, isn't it?
I'll be late to my own funeral, me. I just about get away with it sometimes, you know. I struggle with the balance. I think everybody does to a certain extent. You know, you can't help it. I mean, I had things to do today, and I was actually early to things today, and I'm thinking I'm never ever early. And I think the only reason I was early is because we've got builders here, and they were knocking down a wall today, and I'd do anything to get away from that noise early. I felt very much like that today. But yeah, I think one of the first things that I did for my business is outsourcing as soon as you possibly can, because there's only so many hours in the day. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be in your business. It can just as easily be in your personal life as well.
Yeah.
You know, a friend of mine, the first thing she outsourced, because she didn't like doing it anyway, was getting a garden around to trim a lawn every fortnight, because, you know, it saved her a couple of hours a week. We have a cleaner, and that makes a big difference for us. She comes twice a week. And then I've been really struggling recently with trying to fit in all the work I need to do and to be there for the kids. So I made the decision for them to go to before school club 2 days a week and 1 day a week after school. And then that gives me more hours, because when you're working just in school hours, that gives you to between 9 and 3 to do all your work, to get to your laptop, from actually dropping them off as well. And it's just such a big time struggle. So I've found those two things have made such a big difference.
Yeah.
But I'm also lucky because I've got my husband and my eldest son both also work full time as well, you see. So there's 3 of us full time there without actually employing anyone else. Even though we do, it's just a good starting point for us.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying there as well with getting people, you don't have to do every job yourself, is asking for help, isn't it? There's no, you know, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. If it's bringing people in and you pay them, you're part of that economy, then you know the wheels are turning. Or asking for other people for help. Do you find that you're good at asking for help?
I think I am sometimes. You know, it's like you get engrossed in doing everything else yourself. I felt that social media can get a bit overwhelming on top of everything else. So I instead of using the words looking for help, I would probably say I dumped some social media on my son.
Yeah.
To which, I don't like social media. I think the conversation went a bit like that.
Yeah. So you say it's a family affair now. You all 3 of you are working within the business.
Yes, we are. So there's myself and my husband in the office full time, and then our eldest son, he's 23 now, so he doubles up as full-time video editor, social media, and he can do a bit of everything, really. He's a talented lad, so I can kind of throw a few different things at him and whatever needs doing at that particular time.
Oh, brilliant. Sounds brilliant. So what habits do you think that you said there's balance? What things do you do for you? Just you, nothing to do with the business?
Oh, I went and had a massage the other day. I think that's the closest I get to something for me.
What, no daily practice or anything like that you pick up?
No, not really. To be honest, I get great enjoyment out of cooking. So when I'm cooking, I actually think of that as downtime, even though I'm probably planning some recipes. But I'm quite happy like that. When I fancy a day off, I'll just kind of take one and go and do some girly shopping or to the cinema or something like that.
The beauty of working for yourself, isn't it? Of being able to do that. How long have you worked for yourself for? Have you done that for quite a lot of years, even prior to?
I started working for myself about 20 years ago now.
Yeah. So you've worked out your habit schedule of like, right, I'll just take a day here and do my thing, do you know? I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's sort of,
absolutely. And I have a lot of holidays as well. I find that as a brilliant thing. People are like, "Are you on holiday again?" Yeah.
that's the beauty of it, isn't it? What
Yeah.
funny habits would you say you had, Sam? Do you have any funny ones?
Oh, I type really, really loud, and I talk to myself when I'm working as well. I'd say they're my worst ones. And we were doing the photo shoot for one of the cookbooks, and I'm in the studio with all these different people. So you've got an arts director, you've got the top boss there, and you've got food stylists, you've got everybody there. And I'm answering my emails on the countertop of where they're actually preparing the food. And they said, "You do type loud, don't you?" I do actually. And it's because I'm as blind as a bat, so I have to feel those keys kind of touching.
I dare to think what sound they're making.
Yeah.
And what would you say your bad habits are?
Well, that's not a bad habit. Is that a good habit, is it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Would you say that's a bad habit?
Yeah, that's one. Especially the talking to myself thing. It says you don't need locking up until you talk back to yourself. If you're
Yeah,
answering yourself, you've got a problem. But if you're just talking to yourself, it's okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I would probably just say I'm a bit of a workaholic. I think the problem is that we're attached to so many different machines these days. We have our laptops, then we have our computers, we have our tablets, and we have our phones. And then in the old days when we were in business, we just had a computer and then we kind of left it. There wasn't any answering emails at 9 o'clock at night, or the other little habits that we kind of get into where we just don't properly take a break. I think
yeah,
that's the biggest problem a lot of us have in business these days.
yeah. And do you find that you can feel if that's getting a bit too much? Do you know when you can take a days off and things like? Are you recognizing that? Oh, I need a break from this.
Yeah. And I don't like working much when the kids are off. So what I tend to do is I tend to batch longer working days when it's term time so that I can have the school holidays off. So that's kind of when I get my more of a relax.
Yeah, yeah. And have you felt any overwhelm over time because you've got a lot going on and lots? Or it's just the way you've always worked. And
I'd say I'm very organized and I'm very good at batch work. So
yeah,
it doesn't really bother me that much. It's like when I did one of the cookbooks, you have a literary agent that looks after your needs, and then you have the publisher. So the publisher is there saying, when could you get the recipe content together? And then you've got the literary agent saying, don't let them push you to doing it too soon. So I think they gave me a deadline of about 3 months. And I saw the date that would mean that the book would be coming out at, and I said, no, I'll do it in 2 months.
so you was well ahead. What's your tips for organization then? You say that's your like key thing. What's your?
I just always have a to-do list. I'm not the kind of person that would have I never have the notifications for any of the social media channels on my phone, laptop, or whatever. So I don't have that distraction. It's like my eldest son, you always hear it dinging when he's got a Facebook message, an Instagram message, and it just distracts you from the work that you're actually doing. So to actually get on with it and kind of think to yourself, time's money. It's 9 o'clock, I'm starting now. I'm not stopping until I have a lunch break or whatever. Oh, who am I kidding? I eat my lunch in front of my laptop.
Oh, we can see the bad habits coming out now.
Yeah, they're terrible, aren't they? Thing is, because I married a chef, it's like having a personal chef, so I have my food brought to me.
Yeah. Well, then it's going to be good food in. So we've got the healthy habit of
Yeah.
that, but we've got the take a break. And I'm always a very big advocate for get some fresh air, get some walking in, just really take that time out. But I'm glad you said that you don't have your pinging and that on your phone, because that's, especially when you're running groups and that's probably something that you've picked up over time, isn't it?
Yeah. I just find it so annoying, and it just distracts you when you're halfway in between a job or something. But I say this about the long hours, but most of the time I'm just working from school hours, which, let's face it, is a much shorter day compared to if you had a corporate job and you have to be up at 6 to catch the train into work, and then you're not back till 7 o'clock at night. It's really not the same thing when you're working for yourself.
Yeah, when you break it down, it's sort of,
Yeah.
that's the fluidity of being able to do it, into that's the beauty of it.
Oh yeah.
So what have you got coming up new then? Have you got something in the pipeline? I know you can't give everything away, but I know you must have loads of ideas. Do you find that the ideas come to you once you're observing? And
Yes, I do. I must have about 40 Google Docs just loaded with things, and it's just like there's not enough time in the day to do it all. So in a few months we're hoping to rebrand. So we've been working on that at the moment. Sorry, not allowed to discuss the new name yet.
no, you can't. No, honestly, don't give anything away.
And I can't say the subject. I'm banned from saying the subject, but we have just signed for 2 more cookbooks. So we've if you think of the time of year now, we've got until the 31st of March to get the next one done. So, and we haven't got a kitchen right now, so that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Just like to pile on the challenges of doing it. Oh, brilliant. So how do you decipher which ideas you're going to go with then? If you've got all these sort of ideas, mulling about, what's your tip for sort of going with, right, this is what we're going to do?
Say gut instinct. I'm very much about gut instinct and fate kind of, but I think a lot of it is that businesses change quite a lot, and it's pivoting towards the one that you just have that gut feeling that it's going to work. It's like the time and temperature chart that we've got. Our publishers have never done one of those, and I just had this feeling it would do well, because I know that more people Google how long to cook something in the air fryer than they want to follow a recipe. So it's logic there that made a decent one that it's going to sell. So my brain was on that when we were doing the second book, because I was like, right, I want a publishing deal for this. And my publisher was like drawing it on a piece of paper, and she actually called it her Blue Peter design, because there was no such thing designed like that. So it was like, how are you going to make it look? A publisher's done a zillion novels. They know how many pages they are. They know the layout of what a book looks like. But when you're doing something completely new, so that was taking over my brain. I was supposed to be on a photo shoot and giving it my full attention for the second book, but I was too busy with my brain on the time and temp chart. So I think it's whatever takes over my mind. When you kind of have a gut feeling about something and you're thinking, right, I really need to work on this. I really need to get this out here. I know this is going to do well. It was that kind of thing. I had a similar feeling a few years ago. It would have been it was actually published in February, so similar time of year. It was 2017. And the Instant Pot had gone absolutely crazy in the US at the time. It's like, I think it broke Amazon US at one point, because it sold that many units, and Amazon couldn't deal with how many people were actually on its website. So this is back in 2017, so I'm sure they could handle it now. And I just thought to myself, people want a list of different recipes to use in this Instant Pot. So I created a list of recipes, and it was called the 101 Instant Pot Recipes for Beginners. And the backstory was that before this, I was working business management, business coaching style thing. And I told this guy to do it for his particular niche. And he said it was too much like hard work. So I thought, oh, sod this. I'm going to do it for the Instant Pot. And I put it out there in February. What I did is I linked to other people's recipes, and I messaged them. I said, I've linked to your recipes here. Please, can you share it on your social media? And they all shared it. So it ended up going absolutely crazy. And I think it ended up getting featured in the main Instant Pot Facebook group. So that's actually owned by the manufacturers. And it had 1 million people in that group at the time. And it went absolutely crazy. And then later that year, I thought to myself, when are people getting Instant Pots? People get them for Christmas. So I was sat there in our car. We lived in the Algarve at the time. And I always have this thing on Boxing Day. It turns me into a totally crazy person. I have to go out on Boxing Day and get half price or 90% off turkeys, because they're just such a brilliant price on Boxing Day. and then I have to fill my freezer with them. It's just this thing I do. So we're just about to pull up at this Portuguese supermarket, and I shared it on this big Instant Pot group. And I came back out of the car. I got back to the car because the hubby's not interested in turkeys, so just stayed in the car the whole time. So I'd come back with my turkeys, and he said to me, "We've got 10,000 people on that post right now." And I looked, and in 48 hours, we had 1 million people visit our site just from this 101 Instant Pot recipes blog post I'd actually put out, and it had gone super viral, like nothing I'd seen before. And then it did a similar result on Pinterest as well, and it was just everywhere. And it kind of started a trend now that where if you see so many different blogs and content online, there's always so many recipes. Like we did 101, you see 30 crock pot dinners and stuff like that. That's what's did all that kind of phase with that. So that was gut instinct. That was on my to-do list with probably about another 100 different things. I just had a feeling that one would outrank the other things. So I think it's whatever you think is going to make the most difference, or having a list of things and saying to yourself, right, it's 2025, what 10 things are going to move the needle this year in my business?
Yeah, that's brilliant advice. Brilliant. Yeah, and what you feel into is your gut instinct on that, isn't it?
Yeah. I thank my dad for that, because he always gave me instinct when he was growing up. I mean, I remember we rented a motorhome once to go on holiday, and we had to travel quite a distance to get it. And when we got back, he said, "I'm going to buy some motorhomes and I'm going to rent them out, because there is no motorhome rental company in Yorkshire." And he did. He went and bought himself a couple of English motorhomes, and within 3 months we had Yorkshire motorhome hire.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Oh, I just love it.
That.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's what we love, because I work with a lot of people where we are very, very scared of taking those risks. Because we've been so used to that 9-to-5 security job. We've done it where, that's how we're going to earn a living, and that's how we're going to work for the rest of our lives until we retire. And then there's like going, actually, there's other ways. And yeah, it's a bit scary for some, but it's really interesting too. Do you know, if you just follow your gut instinct like you did, where it's like, I'm going to do this, and I might try that, and I might try this, and whichever one feels the closest to you, and just go with it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I just turned 23 when I started online, so I'd never had a corporate job. I'd never worked long for other people. I just didn't like working for other people, because I'd grown up in a self-employed environment, and I just couldn't handle having to answer to somebody else. I'm really not good with a boss.
Yeah.
It never really felt like a risk, because I started working for myself whilst in university. So, I had everything paid for anyway. Because back then the government had this stupid scheme where they give you money to go to university if you were a young mum. So I was actually paid to go to university at the time. It was a ridiculous amount of money they gave you back then, compared to now, when you think of how expensive it is to go to university. So I had no risks, if you like. So I never had that fear, and I still don't have that fear in me now. It's like I'm always trying new things and thinking to myself, right, if I pivoted, this is what I would do, but I'm still in the same kind of area.
Yeah. You just changed, for instance, you just changed the appliance. Something you come out and you'd be like, right, well, we'll do that, or a new trend. And like you said earlier, it's just observing what's going on and going with your gut based on what you see people doing and talking about.
Yeah. And if you are in business, there's so many business podcasts out there where it's people actually telling the story of their particular career. And even though you wouldn't copy their career, you're thinking, well, they've done really well selling so and so arts and crafts. I wonder what arts and crafts I could sell, because that's my business, kind of thing. But it's always listening and learning from other businesses, and also seeing the mistakes, seeing your competitors' mistakes, and saying to myself, well, they're doing that wrong, this is what they should be doing, and you're their competition, so you kind of see what they want. I mean, I was also the first one to bring recipes out for air fried frozen food, and everybody's like, no, you can't do that. You know, people don't want to know how to cook frozen chips in the air fryer, but I tell you, they did. All want to know how to cook frozen chips in the
Yeah,
air fryer, even though
yeah.
it sounds so simple. It's like
It's
frozen
not.
chips in
Yeah,
there. People don't want to know that.
yeah,
You know, it's amazing in the food niche what
yeah.
people want to know. It's like, take the Paxo stuffing mix. I was quite surprised to see that quite a lot of these box mixes don't actually have a recipe on them anymore. They're filled with so much branding that they don't actually have the recipe. And I'm amazed by how many people follow our recipe at Christmas for how to cook Paxo stuffing in the microwave, when, you know, it's pretty obvious how you actually do it. But you just, it's just demand, isn't it? You know,
Yeah,
for what people actually want.
yeah. And it keeps you interested, doesn't it? I can see, Sam, from the way you're talking, it's just like you're interested. So that you'll move on to the next thing that you're interested in. That's where your gut instinct comes from, because you're interested, and it, you know, lights you up a bit, doesn't it? That what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. I couldn't imagine doing anything else now.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't wait for anybody else, you've just said.
I drive them crazy. I drive them crazy, you know.
I think one of your main habits that I feel into is that you follow your gut and you trust yourself that it's going to work out. And if it doesn't, have you had any failures? I mean, I haven't asked you, have you had any failures?
Not many, no. To be honest, I can't really think of a big failure off the top of my head, because I've
Yeah.
just kind of researched and gone through what people actually want. I'd say the only downside I really have is, because you're starting it and you're doing the research and you're using your gut instinct, it's very easy for you to have people copying your work. I mean,
Yeah.
that is obviously the downside of it, you know, especially when you think I was the first to the air fryer niche. And if you think of how big and saturated that now is, I wouldn't go into the air fryer niche now, because I would, as a business person, I would think, right, that's too saturated. I wouldn't even dream of going in and joining that, because it's got like that, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
the problem in a lot of businesses, you could go into something early on as an early adopter or something, and then it becomes saturated, and then you have to decide, are you staying or are you pivoting?
Yeah. Yeah. Pivoting for some scary though, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's what I think, you know, it's recognizing that actually this has got really, really big. I think it's when the big players come into it as well, isn't it? Where they can outdo you on money that they can spend into it. Or if just everybody's got used to your product or whatever, you've got
yeah,
to then change, aren't you? That's part of business,
it
really.
is absolutely.
You know, I know I've done a lot of training and now doing coaching and things like that. And even trainings change because the access to information is so vast. And then you can do a course online. Some of them accredited, not accredited, and all of that. So what you can offer in the niche and what you can bring to the table and the value completely changed to you having to go to a classroom and learn something, do you know, and you had to physically go there and be physically taught by somebody, do you know, that's
Yeah,
changed. So you have to then look at where else you can go, really. So it's true. That's another habit you've got, is you've got that really good instinct and that ability to see the pivots. And
yeah. I mean, you have to see them, but when you're around so many people in my niche, you know, beginners, and then they ask me questions and stuff, and you think to yourself, well, actually, there should be a product out here for this, and that's where it kind of comes from, you know, because you've used them for a while, you don't have those same questions.
yeah, well, I always say to people, you have to become the learner again. Do you like if I'm writing a course, my knowledge is up here and I'm teaching it to somebody that's just fresh and new and doesn't know, and I have to be that learner again. I have to think like that learner, that person that's just learning something new, or that person that's got a little bit of knowledge but don't right know. So you have to put yourself back into their shoes, or else you miss it, you know.
You do. I did something really, really bad the other week. My husband said that I would never pull it off, and I thought, right, I'm going to do this. So I actually signed up for a local council air fry beginners class, and yes, I went. and pretended I hadn't used an air fryer before.
Oh, this is you was keeping all these little habits and these bad habits behind, but it's really good marketing, isn't it? Really good
It
market research. You
is.
know, put yourself back into those positions of the people that are learning. Brilliant. So, was it insightful?
Well, the problem is she hadn't properly tested the recipes beforehand, so it was pretty much a failure.
Oh no.
It was just when I was there though, I found it quite funny at the time. You know, when you're trying to look away when the teacher's recipe has failed, and you know she's trying to pull it together for the class. I'm thinking, right, I'm not going to laugh. And then I went from that, and then it was a 3-hour class, so I think I was about an hour off being done. And then that kind of went to anger because I'm thinking to myself, I'm around all these vulnerable people. They were all older people. And, you know, they needed that first win with the air fryer to use it again.
Yeah.
And all their recipes had obviously gone wrong as well. And, you know, you just you kind of really felt for them. But I didn't want to say who I was and how they'd gone wrong because, you know, it's not my place to. Kind of treat it like something like when you watch these TV shows like Undercover Boss, where you're just there to observe, you're there to pretend you don't know what you're doing, and then you're there to walk away.
Yeah.
And I ended up with about 20 different bullet points that I snuck off into the toilet to write because it'd look weird if I was writing all these notes in the middle of this class. So I came back with a lot of information, market research point of view of what beginners was thinking, and it would be great for training people in the future on the same subject. You know, you have to go to that kind of stuff to realize what your audience actually needs.
Yeah.
It was a very good lesson learned, but at the same time you're disappointed because she hadn't tested the recipes. I think the biggest problem there for us in the air fryer world is not all air fryers are equal. So she had 2 lots of half decent air fryers in the room, and the rest of them were rubbish. So that meant that the time and temp she was given for those on the rubbish air fryers was nowhere near the cook time she should have had. So obviously it meant that people are there thinking, right, I'm not very good at this kind of thing. So it's more that you felt sorry for those in the room and you wish that she'd done a decent job of testing the recipes before she cooked them. I mean, I've done a lot of air fry demos, and even the recipes I've cooked a million times. I will cook it again the day before I'm doing it because it's that fear that it'll go wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
You heard for a speech, don't you? So I was disappointed she hadn't tested the recipes properly, but then you got to see people's questions and people's genuine questions about using them from the beginner point of view that I can then put into courses, into videos, into how-tos and things. So it's very helpful for me and for the end user, but at the same time you still feel guilty that you've not actually helped those in the class, even though you could have done.
Yeah. Oh, I bet you were sat on your hands, weren't you, for that one? Just trying to.
Oh yeah, especially when she got out products that aren't allowed in air fryers. That was it. That was it. I think I sent an SOS message to the husband at that point. You've only got half now, so you can do it.
Oh, don't send Sam into an air fryer class.
No, I know, but you know, you have to kind of learn about it, don't you? And
yes,
I think everybody needs to be deep in the mind of those teaching so that they can make sure that they're giving them everything that they need. Because the thing is, when you're an expert, you think like an expert. You need to think how that beginner thinks.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's really, really like, and even down to like your marketing, your language you use, everything. You know, you really have to think about what you're saying and how you say it, because you're talking to people that are beginners in that respect. I mean, the funniest thing I've seen, which I did call it, and I naming no names, but is IT courses. And IT courses learn how to work emails and your email box and set up an email address. But you had to register online with an email address.
Brilliant, I love it.
So I'm like, are you serious? Do you know, if you're at that level of not understanding, you need to be out there physically showing people, if they can fill in a form and put an email address on, they've already got one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can work it brilliantly, but the level of what you're thinking and what it was like, seriously?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Set up an email address, put your email address in.
I like that.
So yeah, you really have to sort of think about it. Oh, thank you for talking to me. It's been lovely. The time just flew by then, didn't it? When we were just chatting about just how your biggest habit you've got is that absolute trust in your inspiration and your ideas and your gut feeling, and that your instinct is key. And I think that's really positive, and hopefully that'll help people trust theirs as well. Because the people sat with really good ideas, and then 10 years down the line they go, oh, I had that idea but missed the mark.
Yeah. It's also knowing what your audience is. It's like one of my local travel agent, I just keyed her website into a search engine, and it could tell me what she got searches for, and from that she can see where the most of her clients are coming from, and then you can increase on that audience. You have to know your audience. Really, it's very much key to when you're actually building from it and understanding what people actually want.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got some really good internet skills there as well, Sam, that you've honed in over time of observing and snooping and finding out information.
I do for my own business, but whenever one of my friends asks, it's like I had a friend and she had a cake decorating business at the time, and I said, I'll check where people are finding you, and she couldn't believe it that she was on front page of Google for cake decorators in Hull. And she'd never actually thought about targeting Hull as an area, because she lived in place. It had never occurred to her. So, it's fascinating when you actually do read up on things.
Yeah.
And, if anyone's listening to this and they're thinking, well, where do I start on that kind of thing? Google your industry, and then right at the bottom, scroll down. And when it says related searches, or what people also ask, those are key areas where you can start from, because it's like it's what people think of when they think of a particular topic, and how you can niche down on it. It's like if you put in I don't know, if you search, for example, for Benidorm, Levanti Beach is going to be the first thing that you're going to see stuff on. So if you were a travel blogger, and you wanted to do about Benidorm, you could cover the beaches, whereas you probably think eating out and water parks and things like that. But there's so many things that people actually search for and want to know about. And it's fascinating when you just search yourself or search your industry of what people want. It's like I love a particular photographer that I met locally, and her niche is babies. But she'll do the most amazing product images for me. And she's never thought about doing that, but she's absolutely amazing at it. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How we end up pivoting, and we just kind of go in that direction without even thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a brilliant tip there. Thank you. I'm going off looking myself. Brilliant. So thank you for speaking to me, and I hope everything goes well with the next book. Did you say it's out in March?
Yeah, hopefully March next year, because I've just started on it now. And the way it works in the publishing industry is that because it costs an absolute fortune to print books, so they always do the first print run in the Middle East, or sometimes in the Far East. So it's actually getting those books from the Far East into the shops in Australia, United States, Canada, and the UK at the same time. So that is what ends up taking the longest time. And then they also have to account for things like Chinese New Year if they're coming from the Far East, and then your normal Christmas holidays and things. So normally it's from the point of signing the contract to publication day is normally about a year. So it always feels like you're waiting forever for it to actually happen.
Planning, and then it's just off in the ethos ready. Oh, well, we look forward to seeing it. And you've got your other books on Amazon and places like that.
Search Air Fryer Sam and Dom, and you can find both our 2 cookbooks, the complete air fry cookbook and air fry easy every day on there, as well as our it's called the complete air fry cooking guide, and that's our time and temp chart that is going down very well at the moment. So 2 sides because it keeps selling out.
Oh, brilliant, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody that's listening. Thank you.
Thanks, Sally.